and welcome to the Ruth Mac Fit Podcast. I am very, very lucky today to be joined by the amazing Nina. Now, Nina is someone that I work with for nutrition. She's based in Dubai. And the reason that I wanted to get her on the podcast today is because if anyone is in any doubt as to whether they can build strength in midlife, you're about to be proven wrong, because Nina has not only built some muscle in midlife, she's also now a national German powerlifter. So welcome, Nina. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me. And I'm really excited to talk about how I got where I am now.
I actually wanted to start with that conversation, Nina, because I think, again, not that people doubt it, but I think there is this tendency to think when people are doing well in a sport or they're very fit and so on, is that they've always been that way. So if we look back into your past, have you always been sporty? Have you always been into these things?
No, when I was younger, I did a lot of different kind of sports. I did gymnastic, I did tennis, whatever. And when I was 18, 19, I got really bad knee issues. And at that time, the only idea was for doctors and everyone to tell me to stop doing any sport. I shouldn't do anything anymore. And there were talks about surgery and whatever. And then at one point, someone suggested physiotherapy. And I did that. But I lost a little bit this interest in sports. I skied, I snowboarded, I cycled, but I didn't really I didn't go to the gym. I tried it very often. I had a lot of memberships and I always stopped going. And it took me to turn 40 or to turn 41. So when I was 39, I made this pact with myself. If I wouldn't change till my 40th birthday, I would just accept that that's how I am, with losing weight and with getting back into sports. I turned 40, nothing happened, but I also didn't accept it. So when I was actually 41, 12 years ago, I found at a market a gym that kind of spoke to me. They offered a free session and they were going to call me. And when they called me, I was trying to wiggle my way out of it. Oh, I can't do it this week. And then the coach who called me, he was like, yeah, it's fine. You can do it next week. And I ran out of excuses. I was like, okay, fine, I'm doing it. But even on the way to that gym, I hadn't done anything. I had already the excuse in my head why I wouldn't sign up with them.
And were you joined by your son? Is that right? Did you go alone, or did your son go with you?
No, I started alone, and I signed up, interestingly enough, and I didn't tell anyone because I knew that I had done that so often and I have never done anything. So I just started going twice a week and people started to notice it.
And I know that you get that a lot now. I mean, I've got so many more questions to ask you around them, but I know that you've said, because you're training as a personal trainer or trained as a personal trainer yourself, it's kind of happening, isn't it, in the background? And you said that women will come up to you in the gym and say, oh my goodness, I love what you're doing. And I think you don't always realize what an inspiration that you are to others. I think that it can be so scary starting something new, but it's those scary things that really help us prove to ourselves what we're capable of. But what did those early days in the gym look like for you? You're not going to go straight in and be heavy squatting or heavy deadlifting. So what did they look like?
I started really powerlifting 5.5 years ago. So the first part was really more strength and conditioning. And it was semi-private sessions at that time. It was maximum 4 people with one personal trainer, and everything was designed for you. My son started joining me later, and he's younger than me, but we could always do the same workout together because it was tailored for my needs and for his needs. I did that for 4.5 years before I switched to personal training. And then my personal trainer at that time left Dubai, and I was like, oh, I know enough to do it myself or follow an online program. I did that, and then COVID happened, and I got a little bit fed up with all these body weight exercises I had done at home because we had a very strict lockdown. And then my son convinced me to try powerlifting.
I mean, and I bet you're glad that he did. You listened to him. Yeah.
He told me, like, you are strong and you have kind of the endurance you need to start powerlifting. And I still felt this like intimidation of going to a new gym, and especially in my age, trying something new, talking to the coach. And I still remember the first session we had, and my coach Dan was asking me if I ever wanted to compete. And I was like, maybe. And he said, you could clearly see that was a no. And in my head, it was also like more like, no, I'm not doing that. But he proved me wrong.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've been in the World Championships recently. We'll go on to what happened there, but you've done your German nationals and then you got into the Worlds. So I think he definitely proved you wrong and showed you what you were capable of. You're still working with him, though.
Absolutely.
It's Desert Barbell, isn't it? Is it Desert Barbell?
Yeah, no, we are not a desert bubble anymore. So I started a desert bubble, and which is like really one of the the powerlifting and Olympic weightlifting gym here in Dubai. And that's why I also felt like very intimidated because my son started training there and he was like, come with me and try it out. I was like, oh, they will think, what is this like older woman trying to do here? And I had no idea about powerlifting, the competitions that they also have, this age divisions and stuff. Like I was just like, they will just think like she's crazy or whatever.
A lot of people might not even know what powerlifting is. So they'll have heard of the individual exercises, but just for those that aren't sure, it's not the same as the Olympic lifting you see on TV in the Olympics. It's the three main lifts, isn't it? So it's deadlift, bench and squat that you're competing in. Have you got a favorite, Nina? Which is your favorite?
And the moment, in the moment I have the bench is my absolute favorite. Because,
it didn't used to be though, did it?
No, it didn't, because it like I had to work really hard to increase my personal best, and then all of a sudden I really increased it, and I was always torn a little bit between deadlift and squat, and then in the moment it's absolutely bench.
And with everything, I was just saying then, Nina didn't always have bench as a favorite. We aren't made like good at these things immediately. It does take practicing that form and really building up over time, doesn't it, with everything like this? And I think when you're coming into sport or an exercise later, and bear in mind I started strength training at 33, a year after being ill, and I felt like an imposter then because I felt like everyone around me was going to have always done it, and it wasn't like that at all. But it can be so hard going in and being the new person. But actually, I think if you haven't always been sporty and you haven't always, these are what make you different. This is what gives you that kind of fire sometimes to like go, right, I need to learn from the beginning. I can have that beginner mindset. I can be open to the new stuff.
No, absolutely. And I'm at the beginning, I made the mistake to compare myself to the like 20, 30 years younger woman lifting more than me, because I mean they were younger, they are still younger, and they have all done that for a lot longer time. And I constantly thought like, oh my God, I'm not really strong because they lift so much more. And then I realized that is the complete wrong like mindset or way of thinking it. But it took me a while, because I remember that when Dan like sneakily convinced me to do my first competition, I had just benched 60 for the first time. And I had seen women bench 80 or like 70 something. And I was like, yeah, I mean, everyone was was telling me like, oh, that's really amazing. I was like, not really. I mean, compared to all these others. And I was like, yeah, but you have just started, and like 60 is really good.
It's really good.
It took a while.
And she's talking kilograms here as well, aren't you? Just in case people are listening elsewhere and thinking 60 pounds. It is very, very, very easy to compare yourself to others, but that is good anyway. You are comparing yourself to an unrealistic version of where you are right at that moment, either because you've been somewhere or managed something before, or because you're surrounded by people. So you went to a powerlifting gym. If you'd gone to a regular gym, you would have quite easily seen that not many people are lifting that way. And this is what my husband would say to me years ago. He's like, you're surrounded. I'm a personal trainer. The people that I see online, the people I talk to, they are often into fitness as well. So I'm like, oh no, I'm not that good at that. And he's like, no, you are compared to the average. And then in my head, I'm like, we don't want to be average, do we? But I think
Yeah.
I think we set unrealistic, or not unrealistic, we set high standards because of who you surround yourself with. And you surrounded yourself with like very, very strong people early doors, which is great. How do you find building muscle? So if we're thinking about as we age, we reach that peak muscle mass kind of late 20s, early 30s, and it's meant to be a kind of gradual decline until we hit kind of perimenopause, menopause, and then it can be a bit harder. It's harder to gain muscle, but you can, of course. You didn't start strength training until your 40s. Do you think that there's been some challenges with getting stronger in that time, or because you hadn't done it much before, you've still seen some great wins along the way with that?
It's really hard to say because I never thought about it when I started. Because also when I
Good.
started, like people were not really talking that much about perimenopause, menopause, and how important it is to build muscle. So for me, it was just like, yeah, I'm just doing it, and I just see how strong I can get. And I definitely built muscle during the last 5.5 years. Also in the earlier phase when I didn't just generally do powerlifting, but I definitely have become stronger. As I was just saying, I just had benched 60 kgs, and now my PB is 75 kgs. So I managed to get stronger, and I'm still like hoping to increase the bench. And the same goes for squat and deadlift. So I got stronger in all three lifts, and also with all the accessories you do around the three main lifts. I definitely got stronger, and I definitely built muscle. I guess it takes me a little bit longer than someone who is like maybe in their mid-20s, early 20s, but it's still possible.
Nina has a fantastic mindset when it comes to, and we are going to talk about mindset because I know that it's not always plain sailing, but she has a fantastic mindset when it comes to just keeping going. And clearly, I talk about there's a Buddhist mindset called Shoshin, which is the beginner mindset. And you clearly went into it with that. And then you're not going to expect those amazing things to happen because you're new at it. And it sounds like even now you're just trying to build and do what you can, and getting stronger can still absolutely be a goal. And I think that the fact that you started strength training in your 40s and you've got stronger through a time where a lot of people will be finding that muscle is decreasing is in part because there's more that's so inspiring about you. But that is what is inspiring, because I think a lot of people will be doubting it. And I know that a lot of people would be listening and thinking, well, yeah, but I'm 50 now and I haven't started. But I would imagine that you'd still be thinking, or you might do you see in the gym that women coming in at, older now training?
Yes. I absolutely see older women coming in, starting training, and also getting strong. And when I talk about it, and people are like, oh, but I won't be able to do what you do. And I'm always saying you don't have to become a powerlifter or go to competitions. It's just like, just do strength training, and you will be amazed, because you will, especially even when you're 50 or older and you start, you will see a progress, because if you haven't done anything until now, you will definitely see a progress immediately. No, not immediately, but pretty fast. Yeah.
I mean, you're still pretty young in your 50s. I've got a lady that turned 60, day before yesterday, I think it was, that she turned 60. And she just put a thing up saying, I've met my goal of doing 10 chin-ups. So, again, that's been a goal. So she's getting stronger. It happens, you can get stronger. But it's so easy to feel like those are things for other people and not for us, isn't it? And I think our goals can change. Not everyone wants to enter competitions. I go through stages. Like, I love doing a competition high rocks if I can get into them, because it's like not the pressure too much of those. But equally, I feel like even if I'm maintaining my strength, I'm happy. Like, even if it's not, necessarily getting really, really strong, if I'm maintaining it, that's great as I age. But I did want to talk to you a little bit, because along with menopause, perimenopause, joint aches and pains can occur. And I'm not saying it's because of that, but you have been hit with a little setback, shall we say, when it comes to injury, which maybe happens more at this stage of life. Is that what you say, Nina?
Yeah, I mean, it's not just an injury. So that
It's not.
happened just
I
before
called
I
it
wanted to go to I know. But it's like what I have to get my head around. So yeah, I got diagnosed with spondylitis just 3 weeks before the powerlifting Master Worlds Championships. And like in the very short like description, it's like one vertebrae slipped on top of another, and the nerve between got really pinched. So that's how we discovered it. And it's either genetics or it happened a while ago while I snowboarded, whatever, and fell on my back. No one knows when it happened, how it happened.
But it's
It has nothing
developed.
to do with powerlifting. Yeah, but it has developed. It's not a lifting thing.
No.
So that's important. And the doctors were telling me, because I got a little bit upset because I was like, everyone is saying train weights, lift weights, especially when you age, to avoid having any like bone, whatever issues. And now here I am. And they said, you are very, very lucky that you have such a strong back, because, and you even need to build it up more to have your back muscles protecting your spine.
I remember physio saying
Yeah.
that to me. She's like, you know, if you've got these joint problems going on, building muscle is vital. So you've got that. Imagine if you didn't have the muscle, how much pain you would be in now. But this meant that you went to your world championships. She still went, believe it or not. She did still go. But the expectations changed from going in there to try and, you know, win, to go in there and just
Now,
see if you can make the, well, you know, I say win because I think she's very capable of it. But to go in there and just see if you could qualify at that point, it became, well, not even that. I think you just wanted to go and turn up, but you did qualify. You got qualifying lifts, didn't you? I believe.
I mean, it was a very big roller coaster, because it was very disappointing, because preparation had gone so well, so that I was hoping to get PBs in all three lifts. Then this happened, and I had a moment where I was like, okay, that's it, I'm not going. I did a lot of research, I got a lot of information, and everyone told me, like, you can't make any more damage. If you can handle the pain, you can go. If the pain is too much, don't go. That doesn't make any sense. So we stopped. Usually you peak for this. I mean, we couldn't, so we had to dial everything back. But we got to the point where we realized I should be able to get the qualifying total to go to the next German national, which are in March. And I was like, okay, I'm going to try to do that, because it gives me time. The Master Worlds were in October, until March, to recover, and I don't have to think about any other competition anymore. It was a very different experience, and I had the moments where I was like, what I'm doing here, everyone is doing lifting so much heavier, and I'm here and like doing the bare minimum, and a lot less than I was planning to.
You wanted to wear a T-shirt saying, I'm ill.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone recognized that I was injured because of the stress and everything. Of course, the pain got a little bit worse, and I was just trying to do the movements that helped loosening up everything. And Dan was with me, and he was like basically telling me, you go there, you do this, you wait here. And I like just put my head down and did exactly that. And we also like, I got all my 3 squats, all 3 benches. By then we knew that I only had to get 117.5 deadlift kgs. So he said, we are loading that as your opener, and if you get it, which is easy usually for me to get. Like if you get it, then that's it. We are not doing anything else. So, and that's what we did. So because the difficult thing with the deadlift is to get the lift. You don't only have to get the weight up, but you have to lock out. So you have to have straight legs and your shoulders back. And that was my struggle. I wasn't sure if I could really be completely
the full range of
out.
motion.
Yeah. But it worked, and I felt a little bit bad that I didn't go out again, but I also knew I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't have placed better. I wouldn't have been able to do a PB. I think it would have done just more harm. So
I would say 100%. I think at that point, it's saying, what is the purpose of what I'm doing? And the purpose at that point, unfortunately, isn't to go and get PBs, to go and try and win. It's just to do enough so that you can get into the next competition. But mindset wise, that's hard. And I think that doesn't matter. You would say all of these things to other people, but when it's yourself going through this, it feels like the same rules don't quite apply. How are you doing now, Nina? Like, I have an idea because we've spoken before, but how are you doing now with that?
It's again a roller coaster. I mean, the nerve pain completely stopped 2 days after the competition. I'm back to training. I'm doing a lot of physio. We dialed the whole training back. It's like only 3 sessions now a week. I did 4 before. I'm doing only 1 squat and 1 deadlift. We are pushing the bench because bench was never an issue the whole time. And I felt really great, and I had all these plans. I'm going to the nationals, and I even briefly considered going to the Europeans, but they will be in February, but I don't think that I will do that because it's just putting too much stress on myself. And in the moment, I'm a little bit more in the phase where I'm like, why am I doing that? Why? Because it's like very often it's like 3 steps forward, 2 steps backwards, and not in terms of my lifting or pain. It's just like general day-to-day life, because the affected side was my left side, and so my right side had to take over a lot. And now that my body is kind of imbalanced, and whenever I try to work on like getting one thing sorted, another thing comes up, and it's like, oh, by the way, I'm also tired, and I also need some TLC. So it's my right hip and my right knee that get a little bit angry with me when I, for example, walk too much, and you know that I love walking, and I can't go for long walks, and I can't walk fast, and this is more in the moment where I'm like, oh my god, this is so annoying. I'm getting annoyed that people are overtaking me when I go for a walk.
It will come back.
It will come back, and then I have to remind myself that everyone who is familiar with like doctors and physiotherapists, they told me it's a process. It's like 3 to maybe 4 months until you are like really to your new normal. But I'm not very patient with me.
No. And actually, you touched on it there, but we don't have separate pots for different types of stresses. So if we're really busy and we're not sleeping enough, you've got hormones playing up or whatever's going on, and then you've got this injury that you're dealing with as well, then that can slow down recovery. Everything can kind of slow down recovery or make it feel worse. You know, we've got those neurological pathways. I know for me, I was 32 when I got rheumatic fever. I'm 43 now. But even 11 years later, whenever I'm run down, my lower back plays up. It's like that. It just goes to it's like the motorway. It's like that's where I send my warning sign that you're not feeling 100%. So if you've got these pains anyway, and you've got this issue anyway, you're going to probably feel it even more at times where there's a lot going on. I mean, what you've got, spondylitis, is, you know, that's a horrible thing to be experiencing regardless, but recovery is going to be key for you, isn't it, Nina? Which is hard for someone that likes to be doing, not resting.
Yeah, and and also here in Dubai, the weather is now nice. You spend time outside, and I used to go really for like longer walks and be outside a lot, and I'm still doing it, but I think that is even harder in the moment than the slower process with the lifting, because I'm not in pain when I lift at all, and we are taking it like slow. But like this, not being able to walk in the way I did, and we were traveling last week to Europe, and I was walking in boots, and I never thought about the fact that might not be very helpful for me. It got really bad in terms of my calf got really tight, my right hip hurt, and I was like, oh, maybe that is not the best idea to walk in boots, which are like heavier and not as flexible. So lesson learned. So it's a learning curve.
Actually, that's something that I wanted to ask you. You know, are you finding there's anything that helps mentally when you can't do everything? Like, I know that I have little tricks that I'll do so that my busy mind feels busy, but
I mean, I have also these phases when I'm really feeling sorry for myself, and I'm like, what is your problem? I mean, you can walk, you can do all these things. You just have to be a little bit more careful, and you have to be a little bit slower in the moment. But nothing else happened, basically. That helps. That definitely helps. And then also allowing myself to like have days where I'm not hitting the step goal I had in my mind. Because for a very long time, before I got back into training, like when I was 41, I had this like, I gained weight, I lost weight, I gained weight, I lost weight. And I constantly have this like, no, I don't have it anymore, but I had it for a very long time. And sometimes it comes back. It's like this idea, if I stop, everything will go to how it was. And I know that's not true.
But so you used to do a lot of steps, like you didn't need to do that many. And I know we'd have that conversation and so on, but you haven't been able to. And I think from I suppose a coach's perspective, it's been quite good for you to see that nothing terrible, weight-wise, nothing terrible has happened. You actually probably have found that your hunger's decreased a little bit when you're not moving quite so much, and maybe you're able to be a bit more mindful. And you're still doing enough. You are. It's not like you've gone to doing nothing, which some people might. You're still doing.
Yeah, I know. And it's I heard like my coach got me into contact with another powerlifter. She's from Kuwait and she also has spondylitis, and we talked a lot. She still lifts. And I saw just a post on Instagram, and she posted a message from someone she had gotten about also having spondylitis, and she was like basically lying in bed for 3 months. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, I didn't even have to do that. So I was like constantly able to move, even like when the pain was really bad at the beginning. It was like very, very little. But so no, it's like nothing bad happened.
You're making progress. I think that's the thing. It was October, right, that you got ill, and we're now in December. And in October, even though you could walk, it was very, very painful. But you did go walking around Europe. It didn't feel comfortable, but you definitely wouldn't have been able to do that in October. So there has been some progress
No.
with what you can do. And you're back training in the gym.
Absolutely. And I mean, the World Championship was in Cape Town, and I was planning to walk around a lot in Cape Town. I could a little bit after the competition when the nerve pain went away. I was able to walk around more. But yeah, of course, there has been progress. And like also with the exercises the physiotherapist is giving me with my training with Dan in the gym, everything is like progressing. But still, it's like,
frustrating.
sometimes I'm frustrated from time to time. I'm frustrated.
I think it's reassuring for people to know that you're human, Nina, that, she is dedicated and she's very consistent, but we're human and these things happen, and it means that we need to adjust, and it's hard, but we have to do it. And you are working with your PT qualifications, looking to build something to inspire others. And I know that when these things happen, we can be like, oh no, but this is what will make you so great at your job. I used to think that the things that happened, my injuries and the fact I struggled with these things were like a negative thing when it came to PT. But actually, when it comes to coaching, they're the things that you can bring and understand. So the fact that you started strength training later, the fact that you've got these injury issues means that you can understand so much how life can change and how it can impact us and how we can adapt to just do what we can and prove that we can go through it. And I think even though it's annoying in the future, one day I hope you'll be able to look back and be like, oh, that happened and it's taught me a lot about myself. But
I learned a lot about myself in these last 2.5 months. So it's when it started, it was in September. And I'm someone who like tries to do everything very perfectly. And I learned that, and I mean, I knew that it doesn't have to be perfect, but still, I always still try to have the house nice when guests are coming, whatever. Yeah,
I know that from your Duolingo streak.
So it's I really can get very stressed out if I can't do that perfectly. But nothing happened in the last 3 months, and not everything was perfect. So I'm like, yeah, okay, you have to give yourself also some more slack and time and be like, okay, fine, it's not really that important, like that you have done this or that before visitors come over. And I also learned, because usually I'm a very patient person with other people, I'm not very patient apparently with myself, but that I have to be patient because otherwise it's taking me longer to get where I want to be again.
Yes, and that is a battle. I haven't got that going on, but I've had this bit of a cold, and even now I'm like, I know better now. I've made those mistakes of carrying on when I'm not ready before, but there's still part of me going, well, maybe tomorrow I'll be okay. And in my head, I'm going, probably it would be better off having another day. But it's hard when it's you. There's a whole thing, isn't there, that we think we're the exception to the rule, that we think the same things don't apply to us, but they of course do. So you can know one thing, but sometimes you have to really work hard at reminding yourself of that, especially with hormones. Well, pretend that you're pretty steady with hormones at the moment, aren't you? But you know, it happens. They can fluctuate, and then it's even harder. So thank goodness you're steady with your hormones at the moment, Nina. Because imagine,
at least that's yeah.
Oh my goodness, imagine.
I sometimes like I'm really lucky that this is like not giving me any headaches at the moment. Because if my hormones would be like making me also going crazy, that it would be harder because I can talk myself out of a lot of the negative thoughts that sometimes happen when there is like something going on. Like I can't. Like I realize I wanted to walk longer and I can't, or I can't even go for a walk. So I'm able to not like get too much frustrated or annoyed, and I can talk myself out of it usually. I mean, there are sometimes days where I'm like, oh, no, but it's not too bad.
When you're someone that has very high expectations of yourself, maybe a bit of that perfectionism that goes on, when you can't show up in the way that you'd like, it's very easy at that point to not do anything. I think that's the thing. It's almost like we don't want to see it. You know, this is why I will often, if I'm going out for a run and I'm not feeling great, I won't track it, because I just know that even if it feels the same, I don't need to see that data. And I think if you are somebody that sets high expectations, going out for a walk when you can't do your full walk, going to the gym when you can't do your full session, sometimes it's like, what's the point? But of course there is a point. It's keeping the habit, and it's keeping you moving, keeping you doing what you can so you can build back up. But you are doing all of these things, Nina. You're doing brilliantly, aren't you?
Yeah, I try, and I mean, but it's also it has become such a, like as you were saying, habit for me that it's just ingrained a little bit now. So like, no, I go to the gym and I do this and I do that, and yes, of course, I have a lot of days where I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be awful, or I didn't sleep that well. Does it even make sense? And the good thing in the way that how I'm training is that we always have this system of telling how many reps in reserve we still had, so we can always adjust the training. So even if I have a worse day than like maybe last week, we just adjust the weights and nothing is going to happen. It's still a good workout. It took me a while to not be like frustrated when he said, okay, it's fine, we repeat the weight from last week, or we even go lower. And I was like, what? Wait, why are we not improving? He was like, this is like, it's fine. And the funny thing is, I did then also the powerlift strength coach course. One of the questions was, is it a bad session if you have to reduce the weight because you're not feeling that well? And I was one of the first ones to say like, no, of course not, because it's like you are doing something. But again, when it's yourself, it's like, oh God, I thought I could go up by 2.5 kgs maybe, and now I'm going back something.
You've been training for a while, which means that your weights aren't going to be going up every single week without fail now anyway. You know, early on in our training, they call it newbie gains, don't they? You see those increases happening pretty quickly as your body adapts to the training. I mean, if Nina had carried on putting on weight to the bar every week over the last 5 years, I mean, she'd be a world champion, definitely, but for all age categories, because it just doesn't happen like that anyway.
No.
And we need to be able to adapt and adjust. Yeah, 100%. And it sounds like your PT like totally understands that and gets it. And even though Nina would say exactly that for her clients, I used to get coaches to write my sessions for me because for that exact reason, so that I didn't have to be my own coach, because we're not always great at coaching ourselves, and having someone else to help us is very, very sensible idea.
Absolutely. And he got me into powerlifting because when we had the first talk, like, why do you want to do this? I was like, I just want to see how strong I am. I didn't even say how strong I can be. Then we started, and then he saw something, which at that point I didn't see myself because, as I said, I was comparing myself to all the younger women in the gym. Yeah,
in the powerlifting gym.
Yeah, in the powerlifting gym. And the interesting thing, because you said that before, I'm now, so we are not in as a bubble anymore. We train now in a commercial gym, and like Dan trains a few other people powerlifting, but we are few people in this gym who do powerlifting. And I got approached from other women asking me how long I've done that and telling me that they're impressed about like what I'm doing. And that was a very new feeling, because when you're in a powerlifting gym, like almost everyone does powerlifting or Olympic weightlifting, and it's nothing special in terms of the movements you are doing. Yeah. But when you are in a commercial gym, all of a sudden you're someone who's doing something that people have not seen before, and especially not in my age. So that was a very nice feeling.
It is unusual for people to go and take up powerlifting in their, well, you would be mid-40s by the time you took up powerlifting,
Yeah.
wouldn't you? And this is like time where people might be starting perimenopause, they might not be feeling their best. I think it's the perfect time to go and do it because of the fact that it can make, I think, strong in body helps with strength in mind so much, as the ripple effect from doing some form of strength is huge. But it's also the time that we can talk ourselves out of things so easily. So it is unusual, but I hope that those women, because obviously they're now seeing you lifting these huge amounts of weight, and they didn't see Nina starting with body weight, during that COVID lockdown kind of time, and then going to the powerlifting gym for the first time. And at that point, you wouldn't have been going straight into these very, very heavy deadlifts and very heavy benches. You would have been starting out. And like you said, not everyone's going to want to be a powerlifter, but what you've proven is that even starting like around perimenopause time, you can do some incredible things. And I have no doubt that you're going to continue doing those. Now, I would love to ask you, Nina, that if you were looking back to younger Nina, the perfectionist, maybe Nina in her early years pre-training, if you could say one thing to her, what would it be? So if you could go back to that younger self.
I would have told myself not to give up on the sports I love, because funny enough, at one point someone said, in order to get rid of your knee issues, you have to build the muscles around it. And I did that, and then I snowboarded. I played field hockey for a while, so a lot of knee dominant things. And I'm fine. So there is nothing going on. And I would have told myself, don't listen to this like advice of not doing anything anymore, and do more research. I mean, again, on the same time, at that time, doing more research wasn't that easy. 40 years ago, it wasn't easy. Google everything. And honestly, at that time, when the doctor said, no, it's like you should just stop doing what you're doing, I believed it. And looking back, that would be the one advice, because then I got a little bit like this excuse in my head, like, oh no, I can't do anything, because they told me not to.
Yeah. And if you, again, that perfectionist, or there's a very much, people can be quite literal, and it's like they said nothing, so I won't do that. I'm going to be a good girl, and I'm going to do what the doctor has told me. You've played field hockey since then? You used to play it?
So I my son, when we were still living in Berlin, he played field hockey, and as he was 6 when he started, I mean, that time you are not the soccer mom, but the hockey mom, and you bring every weekend, you have to go to like games and whatever. And we were quite an interested crowd of moms in that sport. And then his coach, she said to us, like, if you get a group together, I will teach you. And then we started playing field hockey when I was, how old was I? In my early 30s. And I really loved it. I was like, oh, if I would have known this sport when I was younger, I would have done that. And I'm saying the same about powerlifting. If I would have known this, I would have definitely done this a lot earlier. And maybe I also would have told myself not to let this gym intimidation get to me too much. Because as I said at the beginning, I had so many gym memberships and then I stopped going because I constantly compared myself. Yeah, I didn't really try.
Do you ever still get that if you're going into a new gym? Because I think that there's this myth that people become confident going to the gym and then they never get that feeling going into a new gym. You do get it. Yeah.
I still get it. So whenever we travel and I have to go to a new gym and I even just to go in and ask them if they have a day pass is sometimes like, I'm like, oh my God, okay, I'll do that. I'll ask. And I know the people are always very nice and very welcoming. But I still always in my head, I'm like, and they will think again, what is she doing or whatever. It's not going away.
No, it's interesting, isn't it? And I know that Claire from ESG Fitness, she said that after having her son, and she's strength and conditioning coach, amazing, got so much knowledge, that she was joining new gyms and finding herself just like hiding in the corner because she felt nervous. And I do the same when I'm away. I'll tend to do training that doesn't take up too much space. I want to just go and find my little thing and walk around and do little things quietly. And I think it is, people think that we're always confident once you know what you're doing. And I think it's like walking into a new place anywhere, isn't it? Got to find the way. Everyone's always lovely. It's been such a pleasure talking to you. So I hope that the women out there listening will hear your story and think, oh, actually, maybe I've had a bit of an injury, or maybe I feel like I've left it a bit too late, but actually maybe I can go and start doing something, because we're not kind of just born with this innate kind of ability to do these things. We practice and we learn. So if there's something you want to do, you can do it. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And I think you're very welcome. The last thing I want to say is it's very important that whoever wants to start something, you find something that you really enjoy.
Yeah.
Because
if in doubt, ask yourself how you can make it more enjoyable. Yeah. And I think for you, not only is it probably the fact that you're doing these powerlifting, you're lifting these incredible weights, but you've got quite a good community of people around you. You've got a group of women who are doing similar things, haven't you? But you've also got your coach who's very supportive. And I think that suddenly makes it a bit of a club, a bit of a social thing.
It is. Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. I think find your tribe as well. Be brave.
Yeah.
And don't set unrealistic expectations early on. Just go in and make it enjoyable. Yeah. Oh, Nina.
Absolutely.
I mean, I always enjoy our conversations anyway. And I think it's good to know that, like I said, that you've got these normal mindset issues that happen and we have to work really hard sometimes, but you are such an inspiration. And actually, I should say, because you're building your own thing in the background, aren't you? But if people want to follow you on social media, you've got a public account, haven't you? And they can find you, and it's, go on to say it because I probably say it wrong.
It's Berlin, Dubai.
So but has it got a little underscore? Is it just Berlin, Dubai?
It's Berlin, Dubai. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. BERLIN DUBAI, Berlin, Dubai. And you can see her incredible lifting on there and what she's doing. It's definitely worth a follow. And hopefully some news in the future of exciting things that you're doing to encourage other women to follow in your footsteps in whatever way they can. Okay.
Yeah, I'm working on that.
Thank you so much. Well, I'll speak to you very soon. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.